Hello, friends and well wishers. We are on the show Talk with Alokita on RadioPaniPoori. I'm sure almost all of you here like reading books and have a collection of favorite books, and also that one favorite writer whose books you never miss. I have always heard this one thing about writers. Every secret of a writer's soul, every experience of his life, every quality of his mind is written largely in his books. I hope you connect with me on this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very dear friend and a guest, that is Mr. Suhas Inamdar. He's a writer. He has written 8 books, and the ninth one is soon to come. Welcome, Suhasji, to Radio Panipuri.
Thank you very much, Alokita.
Yes, sir. You have written 8 books, and the journey still continues. A very interesting thing between us is I had taken your interview back in the year 2013, and when you had just published your first book, I guess, Power Games of Life. Am I right?
Correct. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So, Suhashi, as a writer, I have admired you since then. In the very first interview, when I read your book, I just found you to be a very humble and ground to earth all the time in the replies that you give, in the casual interactions we have. And so your books speak the same language. So can you tell us something about your journey from 2013 to 2020? I mean, I would be glad to hear that. So will be our listeners.
Yeah, sure, definitely. First of all, thank you very much, all the listeners joining us in this program today. It means great to me. So, good morning to everyone in Chicago, and good evening to my friends from India and Dubai. I know many of my friends are seeing this program from Dubai and India as well. It's great to connect with you via this media, and thank you very much, Radio Panipuri, for inviting me for this program, for having a show with me, a talk show with me, and thank you, Alokita, for that wonderful introduction. That was really great. Now coming to the question, you said, the journey from 2013 to 20 and about the humbleness or humility, something. I can say only one thing. I mean, whenever you find some good qualities in others, it's your goodness basically which makes you see the good things in others. So if you find that I am humble and I am maybe down to earth or whatever, I mean, it speaks about you as well, definitely. I am the way I am. So I don't know how I am. It is for you to describe and to judge and whatsoever. Yes, in 2013, I published my first book, that was Power Games of Life. And since then, I mean, after writing the first book, many writers, many authors, they drop off. They don't really go beyond the second book or the third book. But somehow I felt that maybe I can write one book every year. And based on the response and the feedback, the encouraging and the motivating feedback response which I got from all my readers, very few of them. I mean, I'm not a very popular celebrity or something like that, but whatever, the readership, I mean, it has been increasing, and the kind of feedback that I got, it really kept me motivated. So I decided that I should write one book every year, and thankfully, by God's grace, I have been very successful in that so far. So in 2020, now my 8th book has been published. It was released only 2 months back. And my 9th book, which will be released in May 2021, it's almost 40% complete. I am scripting that still. So that's the journey. It's very exciting. It has been very exciting all along.
Wow, that's wonderful. And can I know something about all of your books? Because I know in detail about the Power Games of Life, the story of friends, and how they, spend their childhood, and then how the career takes place, and that beautiful story. So how about the next collections, like the second one? And if you could tell us something about those books.
Yeah, I would definitely love to. And I have a difficult task that I have to just really make it so precise that I don't take maybe half a minute or more for every book, because otherwise the program will run too long and it might get boring also. Time is limited for us. So I can say just, 1 or 2 minutes about all my 8 books. So first books is about happiness. I mean, this is one thing that every book has got a theme so far. It's as has been mentioned earlier, all my books, they harbor on the ideologies of motivation, success, happiness, and philosophy. So you will find these four ingredients in different combinations in all the books. Plus, there is a social message at the end of it. These books are all readable by age group of 8 to 80. There is absolute zero vulgarity in these books. So anybody can read it. You will find some kind of a positive message coming out of it, a social message also coming, and it's interesting fictional plots. They are all fictional stories. The first book is about happiness, and it says that happiness is not a prerogative of rich and powerful. Every successful person need not be happy, and every the knowledgeable person, also successful, powerful person, every rich person, he may or may not be happy. Happiness generally comes from simplicity in life. So it talks about the four childhood friends who grow up and take different professions, and then they realize, they meet at the age of 60 and evaluate how the life has treated them, and they find that one becomes a minister, very powerful; one becomes an industrialist, he is very rich, of course; one becomes a motivational speaker who motivates the people around the world, corporates and all that; and the fourth one is a humble teacher in the village. He goes to his native village and teaches children free of cost. So at the age of 60, when the life has given all of them enough of ups and downs, they meet and they evaluate, and they find that the person who is a teacher is probably the happiest among them all. So this book, particular one, The Power Games of Life, is centered on the subject of happiness. The second book was Altered Destiny, and this was released in 2014. It talks about the power of positive thinking and the subconscious mind. Now, many of us have probably heard, but not in detail, about something called subconscious power of mind, which we all possess. This subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. The only problem is it is not in our control. There is a methodology to get it under control and to harness its power. So it is about a jailer, a middle-aged jailer who is benevolent, who is who wants to reform all the prisoners once their punishment term is over and they go out from the jail, and he wants to rehabilitate their life. So one day, a very dreaded terrorist is lodged in his jail, and who has done a lot of international kind of crime and everything. So this jailer, at that time, he comes to know about this power of positive thinking and the subconscious mind. So he decides that he will reform this terrorist through his power of positive thinking and the subconscious mind. And then, of course, halfway through the book, the terrorist, he escapes from the prison, and there are a lot of action, adventures, and all that at the end, reaching to the climax. So the reader has to decide whether it really worked or not worked. So that I will not reveal or spill the beads here. The third book was in 2015, that is Return Journey of a Stranger. This book is about two things. One is never give up. This book tells a message that never give up in the adversities of life, because everyone faces adverse situations. The point is that one should not give up and always remain enthusiastic. So this is about a 12-year-old boy from slums in Mumbai who accidentally happens to be at a murder scene, and by his child kind of mentality, he thinks that he will be accused of that murder, and he escapes to Delhi. He sits in a train unknowingly, and the train takes him to Delhi, and then a very rough and a difficult life starts for him, because he's illiterate, he doesn't know anything, and he's in a faraway place where he has not stepped out of his slums earlier anytime. But then, with his efforts, with his hard work, he starts. He learns how to read and write at the age of 18, and then at the age of 24, he starts working as a office boy in a real estate company, and then gradually he becomes a CEO of that company. The problem comes is when the company in Delhi, they tell him to demolish the same slums in which he had grown in his childhood. So would he go back or not? If there is a murder charge against him, then what happens to that? That is a suspense. That is what I leave it unsaid here. The fourth book is Life Version 2. This book is very different subject. It is about death. I mean, all of us know that we are going to die one day or other, but no one thinks of our death particularly. So this is one thing. And so this person, the hero of the story, 60-year-old Abhijit Deshmukh, he's a big industrialist, a very satisfied person in his personal life as well as professional life, chain of industries, and very happy. An astrologer tells him one day, he believes in astrology, by the way, an astrologer tells him that he's going to die within 6 months. So how the life changes for him, how he perceives the life, how the things appear to him, how his outlook changes towards life. So this is what the book is about, half the book. And then at the interval, half of the book suddenly, the time when he's supposed to die, he doesn't die. So then the real fun starts, the real problem starts. He starts thinking whether he's an unwanted guest in this world, and why he did not die. And when he starts investigating why the astrologer's prediction has gone wrong, he stumbles upon something very sinister plot. So that's the climax and the suspense part of the story. So it's very interesting as well. The fifth book is Evolving Paradigms of Life. It's a classical kind of book, we can say. It shows the transition of the values from the 1940s up to 2010, 20 that we are in. So across the generations I mean 7 decades and 5 generations, how the values have changed in the society. I mean, for example, technology has improved very much. The financial conditions of people have changed. The values of the people have changed very much. So, how the life has generally changed across all this is from the eyes of a person who is of the age 10 in the first chapter and who reaches at the age of 80 by the end of the book. So, these are all the chronicle of the entire thing is narrated in this. The sixth book is The Second Chance. It talks about professional ethics. Now, this is something which is a big problem which is faced by all the professions, all the fields today. That the professional ethics, I mean, you may be skilled at your job, but ethics also equally count. You have to have good ethics. So, this particular concept was narrated in a very nice way. In the three professions have been taken. One is a journalist, one is a doctor, and one is a lawyer. So these three people, they friends, they start their life together, and they get swayed from the righteous path, and they indulge in all the illegal kind of things, and then those things really, I mean, they are in trouble. And by the time they reform, their sins already catch up with them. So they take a lot of efforts they have to make to come out from that. So that's about the second chance. And the seventh book was My Friend Ginny. It's about a simple middle-aged, middle-class person who stumbles upon a very magical power one day. He finds a ring, and when he rubs the ring, a genie comes out, and genie says, "Okay, tell me whatever you want, I will grant you." So, what all happens? How the common man's life changes when something like this suddenly happens to him? This is all the book about. So, this book tells some two, three very salient points. One, there is no age to stop learning. You can learn at any age. One. Second, your self confidence is very important, whatever you do. And the third thing is that you need to be positive and optimistic at all the time. So this is something about it. And the last book, the eighth book, which was released recently, which is The Last Evidence. This talks about, yeah. So this talks about a person who has been reformed and who leads a good life, but he was a criminal earlier in earlier part of his life. So when he is about to be rewarded and about to be, given a recognition for all his good deeds in the society, the earlier sins catch up with him, and the investigation reaches his doorstep. So what happens? I mean, will the society pardon someone who has done sins earlier, but now he has been reformed? That is to be seen. That is the suspense of this book. So these are the 8 books. The ninth book is different. It is about the cyber espionage and that kind. It's a more of a scientific fiction, the cyber security and cyber threat and all that. So it's a different genre altogether.
So is it a work of non-fiction or fiction?
Fiction. All books are fiction only. Then that is there. I don't go out of my fiction kind of thing. Yes.
It's just that this one thought comes into my mind while you were, talking about all these books, Suhasji. It is just that, when we sleep, we have some sort of lucid dreaming, right? We some sort of stories go on in the mind. So your inspiration sometimes comes from that perspective too, or do you plan and plot your characters? So how do you go about writing a book?
Yeah, actually, it's a big process. Like I spent roughly around 1 to 2 months to identify and finalize a storyline. I mean, that's the thing what I do. I don't know whether it's a routine, it's other authors do like this or whatever. This is my style. I mean, I take 1 year period, as I said earlier, for every book. So, in that, the first 1 2 months, I mean, before that is about just thinking the storyline. So, I have to get that storyline in my mind and it should click. It should say, yes, I can develop this story further. And only when I get that confidence, then I really go for it. So till that time, there is, I don't really go for that just on the whim of it or the momentary feeling we can develop a story on that. Once the storyline, a broad storyline is developed, like for example, as I said, the life version 2, the storyline, one line was that a person who is supposed to die doesn't die. I mean, he prepares for his death, but he doesn't die. And then what happens? So based on that, then I expanded further. So likewise, I have to get that kind of a feeling, and then automatically the characters they build up, the situations they build up one by one, and that's how it starts. So initially it's only a one line story that I have to get in my mind, then frame the characters into that at right places, and then create the situations for them, then divide them into the chapters, and this is how I go about writing a book.
Okay, so that is good to hear. You have like a broad subject line, and then you develop, and make it into a book with a lot of fun and characters, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
correct.
right. And also, Suhashi, this one question I always wanted to ask every writer, because I'm talking to you now. I would definitely like to ask you. So, definitely, there are like some dreams that are left undone as a child. So maybe you will write, if you want to write a book someday, what you couldn't do in the past. Is there any such thing that you wanted to do and you didn't do, and you want to make it into a book? Probably will know how Suhas ji would be in a book if he would be portraying any kind of character.
It's a very difficult question, I would say, rather, because honestly, I don't know, but I'm a very satisfied person. I mean, I'm
Okay.
very contented in my life, so I don't have any regrets that I didn't do this, I didn't do that, whatever. But just to tell you, I mean, like how the life has been for me, there are three or four major things that have happened. This is not exactly probably answering your question, but giving you some insight. In 1987, I was selected as a pilot officer in Indian Air Force, but I did not join because in my life, I was not destined to be a pilot officer. Then I became electrical engineer, and I worked in industries for almost 15 years. And yes, I enjoyed that life also. So that was my one way of life. And then suddenly there was a change. I joined into the facilities management. So that totally changed. It's from electrical engineer, hardcore maintenance job, manufacturing job, industries. I went into the facilities management, and now for last almost like say 14 years again I'm into that. And then I started writing books. So I have another personality of an author from 2013 onwards. And recently I started my YouTube channel as well. So I'm having some YouTube videos also. So life has been fairly interesting for me. And coming to your question, probably if like all my books, one thing is there. I mean, as I said earlier, that they are readable by all age groups, and simplicity is the hallmark of all my books. No complex and no very complicated language or anything. Very simple, everything. Uh, every reader is bound to find some similarity between his own life experiences or someone known to him in my every book. So this is for sure, it is there, and more so it will be in the my fifth book of Evolving Paradigms of Life. So when you read the book, and this has been the feedback which is given by many of my readers, that they definitely relate to some situations or some circumstances where they feel, oh, it happened to me as well. So these things are there in all my books. So I don't think there is any separate need for me to write something which I could not do in my life or whatsoever.
Yeah, very well said, Suhasji. I think I would also like to tell our listeners at this point in time that, like you said, we all are connected. What happens in one person's life, some ways happens to others at some other point in time, right? So we all are connected,
Correct.
and there is a show, upcoming show, a talk with Alokita, wherein we will cover topics like gratitude, wherein we will invite guests, writers, and artists, and we will talk about what would be the different motivation factors they have, and what made them turn into artist and eminent person in their life, and all those similar things that we all are connected with. We will be speaking to our guests in that particular show. So, just an information to our listeners. And continuing to this interview, Suhasji, there is like, I know you are based out in Dubai, but currently you're in Pune because of Corona, you got stuck in Pune. You know that this is a
Correct.
corona time. The government is issuing all the safety measures and requesting everybody to follow what they want as per the safety measures. They have to do certain things. So how are you coping with corona times, and how are you safeguarding you and your family? If you can give us your life in general dealing with such a situation.
Yeah. Okay. See, Corona is something, about which many things have been written, many things have been spoken, many things have been read. Some people might be fed up to hear the word coronavirus or COVID-19 and all these things. But yes, I mean, ultimately, even this is one of the most strangest thing that's happening right now. We are not totally out of it still. I mean, we are still into that. But the funny part is that even today, the world is divided in two. There are some people who believe that this is a serious pandemic. This needs to be treated with a lot of respect and attention and a lot of care. We need to safeguard ourselves from this. Whereas there are some other section of people, almost a measure, I mean, 50% of them who say this is a hoax. I mean, guys, this is just a mortality rate of 2% and 3%, and many diseases are like this. So you don't need to really worry. This is, take some steam and something. So this is something which is very surprising. But one thing is sure, this has shaken up the world. This has shaken up the way we live. I mean, there is no industry, there is no sector, there is no life, there is no soul which is untouched because of this pandemic now for the last 5 months. And as of today, in July, we really don't know when this is going to be over. There are only estimations, there are anticipations, there is a wishful thinking, but no one, no powerful nation, no powerful leader, nobody can today say, no scientist, even for that matter, is able to say when and how it is going to be over. Now, this period has been very difficult for many people, of course. I mean, thankfully, those who have some kind of a stability, the financial stability in life, they survived. They, I mean, continue to manage very well. But the people world over, I mean, including in US or in India, the unemployment rate shot up. There were many people who struggled to earn their livelihood during this period and all. But across, one thing is there that this has really made people look at the life in a very different manner. I mean, for me particularly, I am very lucky that I could spend time with my family in my home in India. We are exercising every precaution that we can do because I believe that at one stage the governments give up. I mean, it's not their fault because they need to run the economies. So what they do is they just give up and they say, guys, there is enough kind of enlightenment and awareness that has been given to you. Now it is up to you to take care. You have to take care about your own life and your own safety. The government is no more responsible, and that's how they will be doing. So what we have done, I mean, that we have maintained, I mean, very peace at house. I mean, we distributed the work that, like every other household has been doing. There are no maids, so we saw how the life is, without a maid. And then we learned many things in the household work, kind of the course that we do and all that. And we remain positive, in fact, because I'm now speeding up my story writing or my ninth book writing and all, and I'm working from home, by the way. My office work is also happening. But I know one thing, that somewhere the HR people around the world, they are going to ask this question after this is over, whenever it gets over, that what have you done in this lockdown period? And people have to justify themselves while giving an answer on this, because this is a wonderful opportunity. This is a calamity, fine, this is an adversity, everyone knows, but then this can be utilized. Even today, it is not late. So learn a new skill, learn at least nothing, if not maybe just improve your health. There is no end to improving health. You can do minimum yoga, do some basic exercises, go for some walking around the house, inside the house, whatever, but you can definitely be in a better shape than what you were yesterday or today. And that, if nobody takes an effort to do that, then he is guilty about that. So read something, do improve your health, and learn the new skills which will equip you for a better tomorrow. And that's what I have been doing, and that's what I would suggest all the viewers and the listeners as well.
Absolutely. Wasting time is not the solution. We need
Not the
to
solution.
get up and start working, learn new things, and make life more
Correct.
beautiful. I think
Yes.
that is wonderful. So, in the future, maybe we will see a book from you on this subject or not.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. In fact, I'm just planning still. I mean, I don't want to spill the beans and again, like reveal the secret. But the ninth book will end with a a forecasting. It will be a situation in 2019 end when some intelligence agencies around the world will speculate that there is something big going to happen. And then my 10th book probably will go into the details of the pandemic itself and the experiences that the world has faced. So that is what my plan is right now. But more, the ninth book has more of the things like the cryptocurrency and the big algorithms, the artificial intelligence. See, now all of us hear these words. Some people know better about it. Some people only hear up to a limited extent, whatever. But this book is for a common man, I mean, these concepts, how they relate, what exactly do they mean? This is described in a fictional plot and in a very simple language which a common man will understand about all these things. So it will be very interesting and very enlightening about the.
And I would like to know, like, an ending question, maybe. What is your message to the aspiring writers and the youngsters out there? Do you have any message for them? And also, probably, if you can let me know what is your favorite book and that you might have read many times and probably you might have got inspiration from.
Yeah, sorry, Alokita, your link was actually broken for certain time. So can you just repeat the question, please?
Yeah, definitely. I was just asking what would be your message for the aspiring writers and the youngsters out there. Also, if you can tell us something about your favorite book and your favorite writer.
Okay, right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For aspiring writers, my message is very simple. Please write. Everyone has a story to tell. I think this is a tagline of one of the publishers. I don't know. I don't want to name him also, but this is a very good tagline which I like. It says, everyone has a story to tell. Everyone. So why not you tell your stories? To tell the stories. I mean, earlier publishing a book was very difficult. It was restricted to only some elite few, but now it is fairly easy process. Maybe sometime another session I can explain the process if required. If there is a demand for that, I would be very happy to do so because I published 8 books already. So good or bad, but I'm doing it. So definitely it is good. You write, and the process for that is very simple. First, have an idea in your mind what you are going to write. Develop the story, develop the characters, and then develop the situations and start writing. You will fail initially. There is no doubt. Any field. Has anyone learned cycling without falling down? Has anyone started walking without falling down? No. Similarly, the same goes with writing as well. So write first few pages. You will not like it. No problem. Fine. But that's your reference. You need to improve from that there on, and then you can. It's writing is a. I mean, it's a passion. Once you start really writing something good which you enjoy, which others enjoy, then it becomes it's a great hobby. You can indulge into that. You can go into. It's a world out there in your imagination, and you can indulge into that. You can play into that, and you can bring it onto the paper. So all aspiring writers, I would say, please take up the courage. Write once, write twice. Maybe you don't like it. Write 3 times, write 4 times. There are many examples. And like Thomas Alva Edison, there's one example which every management class, management workshop, and everyone gives. He failed 1,193 times while making a bulb. Now imagine if he had given up, we all would be sitting in candle, and in darkness. Still, some other Thomas Alva Edison had the courage and the patience and the persistence to invent another bulb. So he is a timeless classic example of how not to give up and continue with your persistence to achieve what you want in life. So do that, and definitely yes. And about my favorite book, Alokita, as you said, yes, it is my fifth book called The Evolving Paradigms of Life. Yes, it's a very classic kind of book. It is close to my heart, and I am sure that among all the books, this is the one where, because it spans all the 7 decades and the 5 generations of the people, every reader who has got some connection with the Indian soil, he would definitely relate at least 2, 3, or 4 kind of situations or circumstances which are closely matching with his life. Maybe in 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or whatever. But definitely that he will find, and that is something which is very close to my heart. But all books are my babies, so they're all very equal to be in my heart. So there is nothing as such like this is better or that is better. Every book has its own plus. I would say no minus.
It's wonderful, Suhasji, and it was always a pleasure talking to you. It was a wonderful interview, knowing about all your books. I would request listeners to follow Suhasji on Amazon and read few of his books. I'm sure you would love it. And also, like you said, Suhasji, that keep writing no matter what. So I don't know. One fine day, I was just sitting. I have written like a few sentences about this corona. I would like to read that and probably end the show with that.
Wonderful. That's really great. And if I have to just, I can say a few lines.
Yeah, definitely.
My message to the audience. I would
Sure.
like to thank everyone who watched the show, because see, you spared your time for half an hour and listened to the show. And, that is a precious gift that you can give me. So I am thankful to everyone in Chicago as well as in India and Dubai who watched this show live. And I think this will be on Facebook Live as well, so it can be watched again. So it was wonderful talking to you also, Alokita. Thank you very much. And it is same like what we talked in earlier 2013 also. It was really great experience then and even now, and I hope that we get many more opportunities to
Thank
talk
you
again
so
in the
much.
future as well. Yes, and I
Definitely.
thank Radio Pani.
Probably we can, yeah. Probably we can do like one show for each one of your book, and probably know the stories in detail. Not the whole of it,
Wonderful.
probably. Yeah,
I will be more than happy to do that. I mean, nothing can be more, pleasing to me than doing that. Definitely. I will
yeah,
love to do
definitely.
that.
Thank you so much, Suhass ji.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Right, friends. So just I'll take 2 more minutes from you. There's like a quick thing came onto my mind, the last minute change. So I'll read it out for you. Looks like humanity is stuck in between these two times. We call it the Corona time. Breathtaking past and a glorious future. And in between, we are stuck in the Corona time. So, the last few months, events across many nations of the world kept rolling one after the other. It seemed like what took a decade or two to build was lost just in few days. The lifestyle, experience of nation, individuality, idea that people have about one country's changed drastically. Borders evaded totally, at least in the mind, of course. Same comes with trade, commerce, jobs, fashion, travel. Everything was gloriously shattered. So now, the good thing is all the non-commercial aspects balanced automatically. Looks like the nature is balancing itself perfectly. People are spending more time with families, like Suhasji mentioned. Unnecessary expenses are watched. Every action is conscious, completely conscious. Everyone all of a sudden started paying attention to health, nature, and surroundings. Needless to say that what we do now definitely will build a glorious future for tomorrow. So, nothing to panic about, and we will definitely are heading towards a glorious time. Thank you very much for joining with me on a talk with Alokita. Today we had Suhasji, and definitely we'll come up with many more guests. And I'm waiting to see you again very soon. Thank you.